Colin Mangham, who's going to facilitate this panel right now, is a friend, and he's guided dozens of global brands and hundreds of entrepreneurs, generating over $600 million in revenue somehow. I'm not sure how he did that. But he's also the co-founder of Morpho Energy, a renewable energy company that is unlocking idle rooftops with solar and other technologies to make them part of the solution. He also is the manager of the innovator. Tell me, how am I going to say this? He manages the entrepreneurship program at the U.S. Green Building Council. He's just an all-around good guy, and I've worked with him, I think, known him for a few years, and I've always been impressed that, wow, this is a guy who I need to befriend, and this is a guy who I want to work with and learn more about biomimicry for him, and just about life, I guess. So, Colin, come on up here. And bring your panel up, and we're going to talk about what Roberta just talked about and innovative technologies. Thanks, man.
So I'll sit here, right?
Yeah.
Is this how this goes?
Either way.
But I did want to first address something that you said about effectively, kind of learning not about, but learning with, not just working with people. So one of the core tenets of biomimicry, one of the key shifts we have in language, is to not just learn about nature, but to learn from nature. It's a real small shift. Drew, you know this, right? Okay, I got a biomimicry fan right here too. This whole room is probably biomimicry fans. Certainly our indigenous wisdom is from biomimicry and nature-based solutions and all of nature. So I love this because it's also a segue to say this is an unconference. And I could have really learned about all these people by deep diving their websites and everything, but I didn't, because I'm going to learn from them today. And we're going to jump right in. This may be a little bit organic, not linear. Should be fun. A little bit of fireside chat, I think. You ready? Okay, I'll come over here. All right. Thanks for waiting for me to get over here. So I really just want to, we're talking about rebuilding communities, that's the topic, and I'm guessing certainly what comes to mind first is in the wake of wildfires, right? I will also say we may go a little bit deeper to think there are communities that are in disrepair, certainly a lot of our disadvantaged communities that need rebuild regardless, that weren't affected by wildfire. So that's a lot of the core thinking that's going on in this room, and a lot of the work I do with USGBC California in terms of being a community-based organization that looks to really empower people through training and education, all these bullet points I probably should give to you from a website slide or something. But really what we do is we work with people in our community to actually bring impact to the ground. And so what I do, and Greg mentioned a little bit of it, is I run the Net Zero Accelerator for the last this is now the 6th year. We've had 120 companies through it across net zero energy, carbon, water, and waste, and really every aspect of that. If it's materiality, if it's facades, if it's energy efficiency, if it's energy storage generation, things we'll talk about here today. But also just really looking out into our community and saying, hey, can someone help pilot this? And so we're all talking about kind of like pilot things and how to give someone a bite-sized taste that they say, hey, that worked in that building or that context or in that 400 square feet. And now we can actually say, all right, we have good confidence to scale the adoption. Let's put it in buildings 2 through 10 or what have you. And so a lot of what we do is actually taking young companies, entrepreneurs, and growth stage companies that have at least a prototype and a solution that they can actually put into market immediately, put into this room immediately, put outside this door immediately. And we connect them with people in our community to say, will you give them that space, give them that time? And we also have a lot of people like you that, it's not a call to action, but a lot of people advise these young companies, right? And I mention that because a lot of our advisors will say, I'll help that young company. I've got subject matter expert, experience in this. And I'll say, that's fantastic. Thank you for volunteering your time. But also remember, these people have maxed their credit cards. They're losing sleep. They're stressing relationships. They've really gone all in on solving for this thing that I don't see every day, and they're really hyper-focused on solutions that we don't see, leading edge, bleeding edge. And so there's a lot to learn from young companies too, especially ones that need to scale impact. And we need a lot of different solutions. And so the thing about biomimicry and nature-based solutions, and now we'll jump into the panel, is nature's on a different time scale, right? We need solutions now. I will say, if picked up the bike over here when you said, what did you sense in the room? What did you feel in the room? What I've loved so far is I know we all feel urgency. Greg, we talked about, at one point, like, what would you talk about climate action when we talk about climate action? First time we got together on this. And I was like, I don't always talk about the emergency. I don't always talk about the urgency. But we all know there's urgency, but yet we all seem pretty calm and level-headed and ready for nearly anything. And that's something I picked up in this room today, that we're not frantic and there's not fear coming from these microphones. There's hope, there's opportunity, there's scope. And so I love that. I wanted to bring that up because all of these people I know, what I do know about you, I know more about you now, having presented, and we've talked quite a bit, and I've known Greg for a bit. I don't have softball questions. I don't have prompts ready, although I'll ask you about super green and all that, right? But so this is going to be organic, and I'd like to just go down the row. Let's do this. This will be the one linear part, but if we can just go down the row and everyone kind of remind us who you are, what you're focused on, and then what is rebuild for you? Because are you focused on wildfire? Are you focused on retrofits for, adaptive reuse in our current building stock? That's a sustainable solution versus bulldozing and building new, right? So what is your focus on rebuild right now relative to what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
Refresh.
What is rebuild for me? My goodness me, you throw a really big question on me. I think rebuild for me translates in reunion. It's a reunion. So, for example, if you take a building, a derelict building, and you start refurbishing it, right? That is a communion between on temporal scales. You're connecting with the past and you're bringing it back into the present to create a new direction forward. When we're talking about rebuilding after disaster, it really is like a clean slate, and I'm using this word very carefully because a clean slate is not always the best place to start. As an artist, when you have a white canvas, you just get a mental block. That is why I'm trying to shift the attention to union and marrying whatever we put out there in terms of homes, in terms of businesses, in terms of offices, etc., marrying it back to the land. I can't put it better in words than this.
I love that. I'll let you use the word folly. That's the first time I heard that word today, which is a fantastic one. But human hubris and human folly is, in fact, thinking that we need to start with a blank slate of clean canvas, a tabula rasa every time. I'm going to go back to biomimicry for one moment. I mean, we've got a lot of solutions that have been time proven over years and years and years. Why do we need to create the wheel every single time? We're kind of geared to have to have the new thing every time.
I think that's the beauty of it. We're not reinventing the wheel because we have ancestral knowledge that allows us to marry the past with the solutions of the present. So I think it's again union between tradition and innovation as well. It's rebuild. And I think that's the opportunity that we have here.
Love it. Heidi?
Hi, I'm Heidi Adams, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Base Studios. And we're working to redefine what critical infrastructure can be, particularly in light of where the climate is at now. And we're building what I call the next generation of streetlight. And that is redefining this and making it something that doesn't fall and withstands the fires and the floods and the storms that we all experience now. It integrates solar. It integrates community essential needs, solar, battery backups, Wi-Fi. And those are crucial now, and particularly for these communities that are rebuilding, because they could provide services like distributed energy resources, the power homes when blackouts happen, keep the Wi-Fi on when blackouts happen, and during emergency situations, which all these communities experienced, so that evacuations can happen safer, so that emergency responders can come in and know where to go and know how to find people. And so to your question of what is rebuilding for us, for me, that is community. I think for me, that starts with community and understanding what they need and how to build from that. And talking with them, as you spoke of in your talk, connecting with them and bringing those solutions forward is what I see a need for and what rebuilding is for me and for our company.
Thank you.
So the prompt is rebuilding or green building?
Introduction and
Both.
Okay. So I'm Craig Lewis, and I don't listen very well, obviously. I'm the founder, executive director of a very technical nonprofit called the Clean Coalition. And our mission in life is to accelerate the transition to renewable energy and a modern grid. And as you get renewable energy to very high penetration levels, you have to modernize the grid. The grid's not capable of getting beyond like 50%, 60, 70% renewables without some pretty drastic design changes. We do a lot of work in the world of solar-driven microgrids, or more broadly, renewables-driven microgrids. And we're primarily focused at the local level. And so for me, rebuilding and green building are actually one and the same. And rebuilding, let me just say, green building is about a paradigm shift. We all have to change the way we think about building, whether you're rebuilding or you're designing something, for the first time, or whether you're doing a deep retrofit. Everybody should be thinking about how to make sure that that asset that's going to be around for the next 50, 100, 200 years is going to actually be something that's good for the planet. And to me, that means green building. So there's an opportunity when you have a rebuild situation like what we have here in Los Angeles and Pacific Palisades and Altadena. We have this massive opportunity to do things the right way in a green building format. What it really comes down to, if the policies change, that's kind of the easy way to make sure that everything going forward is going to be done the right way. But getting policy change takes a long time, and we don't have a lot of time. So what we really have to do, Annie this morning on one of the first panels made the comment about she's kind of lived by this mantra of thinking globally but acting locally, and I like that. I live by that mantra as well. And so, right, individually, while there's lots of people fighting for policy change, we all individually need to do our part to do green building, drive electric vehicles, electrify everything. And I just take my last 10 seconds to recognize one of my personal heroes who I just realized is in the room, Drew Shula, who leads the vertical group, and he is the relentless pursuer of net zero energy and runs the Net Zero Conference every year here in Los Angeles. And so really happy to see you here, Drew.
My name is big round of applause for Drew.